You are failing at speaking English because you are waiting for a conversation partner. That is a toxic lie. Today, I will expose why being completely alone is actually your most unfair advantage. Watch until the very end, because the final secret will completely rewrite your brain. There is a quiet poison slowly killing your English progress, and almost nobody is talking about it. You do all the right things. You buy the expensive textbooks. You watch hundreds of hours of video lessons. You memorize long, boring lists of vocabulary until your eyes hurt. But when the moment comes to actually open your mouth and speak, your throat tightens. Your mind goes completely blank. You feel paralyzed, like a prisoner trapped inside your own native language. And in that heavy, silent moment, you look around and realize the harsh, painful truth. You are completely alone. There is no native speaker sitting next to you. There is no patient teacher holding your hand to fix your grammar. Are alone? You will never be fluent. You are alone? You will never be fluent. You believe that your situation is hopeless. But what if I told you that the biggest lie you have ever been told is that you need a partner to learn a language? Welcome to Glaze English. Today, I am going to reveal exactly why being alone is not your weakness, but your absolute greatest hidden advantage. I am going to show you a practical system that will completely change the way you study forever. If you want to stop feeling stuck and finally speak with true confidence, please hit that subscribe button right now to support the channel so I have the motivation to keep making these valuable videos for you. And trust me, you do not want to miss the ending of this video, because the final secret will change your mindset completely. I know exactly how that deep loneliness feels. I used to sit in my room, staring at my phone, waiting for a magical English environment to just happen to me. I thought I needed to travel across the world or pay for an expensive tutor to finally speak well. But waiting is a dangerous trap. If you keep waiting for the perfect speaking partner, you will wait forever. When you are alone, you actually have a superpower that students in crowded, noisy classrooms do not have. You have total, absolute control. You control your speed. You can repeat the same basic, simple sentence 50 times without anyone rolling their eyes or laughing at you. You can sound silly. You can make terrible mistakes, and you can fail in complete safety. No one is judging you. But to unlock this power, you have to stop treating English like a difficult school subject. Most people study hard for 20 minutes, close their notebook, and then spend the rest of their long day hiding in their comfortable native language. You cannot just visit English. Look at the most. Take your phone right now and change the system language to English. Yes, it will feel scary. When you try to find your alarm clock, read your daily notifications, or check your battery, you will feel frustrated. That discomfort is exactly what you want. It means your brain is fighting to survive in English. Next, claim a corner of your bedroom. You do not need a fancy desk. Just take a piece of paper and write down simple, real phrases like, "Give me a second," or "Let me think about it." Stick them on your wall. When you wake up and see those words every single morning, English stops being special and scary. It becomes normal. And finally, stop watching random videos from 100 different teachers. Pick just one simple English channel and listen to it every single day. Consistency removes confusion, and familiarity destroys fear. Your room is no longer just a place to sleep. It is your private training ground. Once you have transformed your room into that safe, private training ground, you are finally ready to face the real reason your mouth stops working when you try to talk. I remember staring at a simple English sentence in my head, knowing every single word perfectly. But when I tried to say it out loud to a real person, my tongue felt completely frozen. For a long time, I thought my memory was broken, or that I was just not smart enough. But then I realized something profound that changed everything for me. Speaking a language is not just a mental exercise. It is a highly physical activity. Your lips, your teeth, your tongue, and your breathing rhythm have spent your entire life moving in one specific, comfortable way to speak your native language. When you try to speak English, your mouth literally does not know how to perform those new movements. You are exactly like a person who reads a book about running a marathon and then tries to run 20 miles the next day. You cannot just memorize grammar in your mind. You have to physically train your facial muscles to produce the sounds. But how do you train for a real conversation when nobody is there to listen? You have to manufacture your own pressure. You have to trick your brain into feeling that nervous energy you get when talking to a stranger. I started doing this by standing straight in front of my bedroom mirror. Looking directly into your own eyes and speaking English feels deeply uncomfortable and a little ridiculous at first. But that mirror acts like a real listener, forcing you to maintain eye contact and project a confident posture. Next, grab your phone and set a timer for 60 seconds. Hit start, and for 1 full minute, you must describe your current day out loud without a single stop. If you forget a word, you cannot pause and think. You must immediately find another simple word to keep the flow going. This forces your brain to abandon the slow habit of translating and teaches you how to survive in spoken English. To make this physical training actually work, you cannot rely on motivation, because motivation will abandon you on a rainy Tuesday. You need a daily routine, a quiet 45-minute ritual to train every part of the language. Start with 10 minutes of speaking out loud to your mirror about your exact reality, describing your morning and your feelings. Then, sit down and spend 10 minutes writing a tiny diary on real paper. When you write by hand, time slows down. You can clearly see your messy thoughts, and correcting those mistakes on paper burns the proper grammar deep into your memory. Next, give 15 minutes to your ears by taking a short, 1-minute audio clip and listening to it repeatedly. If your ears cannot catch the natural rhythm of English, your mouth will never be able to speak it. Finally, spend the last 10 minutes reading a short article out loud. By reading aloud, you are stealing the perfect sentence structures from native speakers, teaching your breath to pause exactly where they pause. If you commit to this simple daily ritual, your body will learn the physical habits of fluency, and the freezing will stop. Once you have that daily physical routine locked in, you must face the single greatest danger of practicing completely alone: the terrifying trap of silence. I remember standing in my room, speaking to my mirror for weeks, feeling incredibly proud of my discipline, only to realize much later that I was repeating the exact same broken grammar every single day. When you do not have anyone listening to you, your mistakes slowly harden into permanent bad habits. You say things like, "He go to work," or "I am very boring today." And because nobody stops you, your brain accepts it as correct. This is the exact moment where solo learners usually hit a massive wall and want to quit, because they feel like they are working so hard but getting absolutely nowhere. For years, I wished I was rich enough to afford a private American tutor to follow me around all day and fix my sentences. But then, I discovered a secret that completely leveled the playing field for people like us. We live in an era where you never have to be truly isolated if you know how to use technology. But almost everyone is using artificial intelligence completely wrong. Most learners treat ChatGPT like a fancy dictionary. They type in a word, ask for a translation, and then close the app. If you do that, you are throwing away the greatest learning tool in human history. You have to stop treating artificial intelligence like a lazy search engine and start demanding that it acts like your strict, unforgiving, 24-hour personal mentor. I want to share the exact commands I use to build my own virtual immersion environment. When you finish writing your daily micro-diary, do not just ask the computer to fix your spelling. You must command it to teach you. I type a prompt saying, "Here is my diary. Please correct my sentences." But do not just give me the right answer. I tell it to explain exactly why my original sentence was wrong using very simple beginner English, and then give me 3 new example sentences using that correct rule. Suddenly, you are not just getting a red mark on your paper. You are receiving a private, highly detailed grammar lesson tailored exactly to how your unique brain works. And sometimes you will write a sentence that is grammatically perfect, but it sounds like a stiff robot. So, I learned to ask the artificial intelligence, "Is this how a native speaker actually talks in real life? Give me 3 casual alternatives." That is exactly how you bridge the painful gap between boring textbook English and real street English. But the absolute magic of learning alone happens when you use this tool to simulate real human pressure. I sit on my bed and type, "Let us role play. You are a tough job interviewer, and I am nervously applying for a position. Ask me one question. Wait for my typed or spoken answer, correct my English, and then ask the next question." You can practice ordering coffee, arguing with a landlord, or asking a stranger for directions, all from the absolute safety of your bedroom. By the time you face that terrifying situation in the real world, your heart will not race, your palms will not sweat, and your voice will not shake, because you have already lived through it virtually 50 times. And to finally kill that terrible habit of translating words in your head, I force my virtual mentor to fire rapid, simple questions at me. It forces my brain to react instantly instead of overthinking. When you learn to command your tools this way, you realize you have a brilliant, infinitely patient partner sitting right in your pocket, ready to guide you the moment you ask for help. Even with a brilliant virtual mentor in your pocket, there is still one quiet, dangerous enemy that destroys almost every solo learner. And that enemy is the illusion of zero progress. I have lived this nightmare so many times, coming home completely exhausted from my long shifts at the factory, sitting down at my desk to study, and feeling like I was pouring water into a broken glass. You work incredibly hard for weeks, but when you try to watch a movie or speak out loud, you still stumble, and that dark voice in your head whispers that you are just wasting your time and going nowhere. I realized through my own painful experience that people do not quit learning English because the grammar is too difficult. They quit because their daily growth is entirely invisible to their own eyes. When your brain works that hard but sees absolutely no visible reward, it simply shuts down your motivation to protect you from failure. To survive this psychological trap, you have to stop trusting your feelings and start building a physical survival mechanism of undeniable proof. Progress in a language is not a loud, sudden explosion of perfect fluency. It is a very quiet shift, like pausing just a little bit less or feeling a tiny bit less fear when you open your mouth. To capture this invisible growth, I started doing one simple thing that completely saved my journey, which is the weekly voice record. Every Sunday night, I open my phone and just talk for 2 minutes about my week, completely unscripted, letting all the messy, embarrassing mistakes happen without stopping. When you feel hopeless and want to give up, you go back and listen to your recording from a month ago, and the sudden realization of how much faster and clearer you sound will instantly destroy your doubt. Next, I stopped making complex study plans and just drew a simple scoreboard on a piece of paper to track my daily habits. Did I do my 10 minutes of speaking today? Yes or no? When you see a continuous chain of 30 check marks, you stop being a person who is struggling to learn, and you transform into a disciplined individual who refuses to break the chain. Finally, I created a notebook page just for my repeated blind spots, writing down those terrible grammatical errors I kept making every single week. By tracking my biggest weaknesses, I dragged them out of the shadows and forced them to become my greatest strengths, proving to myself that tracking is not about being perfectly organized, but about protecting your courage when the journey feels incredibly lonely. Even when you build this perfect system to track your daily victories, there is still one final, devastating psychological trap that will freeze your tongue if you do not destroy it today. You can have the best morning routine, the smartest artificial intelligence mentor, and a notebook full of tracked mistakes. But if you carry the poison of perfectionism into your room, you will eventually paralyze yourself. Because we spend so much of our time alone, we constantly consume flawless English from professional videos, perfect podcasts, and smooth movie dialogues. We secretly compare our messy, broken, unscripted sentences to their highly edited products, and a deep sense of shame washes over us. We start to believe a very common lie, telling ourselves that we will finally speak to real people when our grammar is perfect, when our accent completely disappears, and when we are fully ready. But I need to tell you a harsh and liberating truth that I had to learn the hard way. Perfection is a myth, and chasing it is incredibly slow, while consistency is raw, messy, and absolutely unstoppable. Perfection tells you to wait in silence, whispering that you should only speak when you are fully prepared. Consistency looks you in the eye and demands that you speak, clumsily and poorly, until you are prepared. If you wait for the magical day when you will not make a single mistake, you will be waiting in silence for the rest of your life. I want you to realize that truly fluent speakers are not perfect speakers at all. If you listen to native speakers sitting in a coffee shop, they stutter, they forget basic words, and they stop in the middle of a sentence to completely restructure their thought. They do not panic or apologize for their grammar. They just keep the conversation moving forward. True fluency is never the absence of mistakes, but simply the courage to communicate continuously despite those mistakes. Language is not a massive mountain you conquer in one heroic jump. It is acquired through the brutal, boring, unglamorous power of daily repetition. It is the 10 minutes of speaking to your mirror when you are completely exhausted, the short diary entry written before bed, and the 60 seconds of audio you repeat until your throat feels dry. If you only improve by a tiny, almost invisible 1% every single day, it will feel like absolutely nothing is happening. But after 100 days of showing up alone in your room, you will not just know a few more words. Your brain pathways will be completely rewired, your reaction time will drop, and your fear will be replaced by a quiet, steady courage. So, if you are sitting in your room right now, feeling like the journey is too long and you are entirely on your own, please remember this. You are not falling behind, and you are not at a disadvantage. You are simply in training. Choose fearless practice over flawless sentences. Show up tomorrow and speak, even when your voice shakes, because one day you will look back at that quiet, lonely room where you started, and you will realize that the person who struggled alone became the person who speaks to the world with absolute confidence. Start today and do not stop. Looking back at our entire journey, the deepest realization I have had is that speaking fluently is never an accident, and it is never a magical gift handed to you by a perfect conversation partner. When I used to come home from my long shifts at the factory, completely drained of energy and staring at my notebooks, I honestly thought I lacked the talent or the right environment to succeed. But the profound lesson I eventually learned is that language learning has absolutely nothing to do with natural talent or being surrounded by native speakers. It is entirely about building a reliable, unbreakable system. I realized that you have to look at your English like a piece of technology or a complex machine. You do not build a working machine by simply wishing for it or waiting for inspiration. You have to engineer it, piece by piece, day by day. You put the right processes in place, like changing your phone language, setting up your mirror for speaking practice, and commanding artificial intelligence to be your strict mentor. The ultimate lesson here is that isolation is actually your greatest hidden advantage, because it forces you to become the architect of your own progress. You take absolute control of your environment, removing all the external noise, the fear of judgment, and the endless toxic comparisons to other people. How do you apply this profound shift to your life right now? You simply stop waiting for a hero or a perfect teacher to save your English. Forgive yourself in advance for all the clumsy mistakes you are guaranteed to make tomorrow, and you focus entirely on the quiet, boring, repetitive daily actions that slowly compound over time. Do not aim for a massive overnight transformation by next week. Aim for a tiny 1% improvement before you go to sleep tonight. Write just one messy sentence. Speak to your mirror for just one uncomfortable minute. Let those small daily efforts slowly build your courage, because courage is what actually creates fluency. This is exactly how you change your reality and take your power back. Now, I have a very simple question for you, and I would love for you to share your thoughts in the comments so we can all read your perspective and learn from each other. What is the one specific daily English habit you are going to commit to doing alone in your room starting today? Please leave your answer down below. And if you found this perspective valuable and want to continue walking this journey together, please subscribe to Glaze English. Your support truly gives me the motivation to keep showing up and making these deep, practical videos for you. Stay consistent, trust your system, and I will see you next time.